Hello, guys. I am Kyle Kueker. I will be going over Chapter Five's Cost, Volume, Profit, Learning Objective 1. So, in this, we're going to be covering cost behavior analysis. Cost behavior analysis is the study of how specific costs respond to changes in the level of business activity. And, regarding cost behavior analysis, you're going to deal with, you have the activity levels of certain items, and you got your variable costs, fixed costs, mixed costs, relative range. Starting off the bat with variable costs, they're the type of costs that will vary directly and proportionally with changes in the activity level. So the way I like to understand this is, as you increase something, you will also increase the price, or if you decrease something, you will decrease the price. So let's say you have a service company, and you got this numerous amount of repair vehicles that have to drive around. They're going to run on gasoline. You're going to have to increase your allocated costs for gasoline for an annual percentage for, if you're increasing the total amount of drivers. If you got direct materials, the more you produce of a certain item, the more materials you're going to use, so therefore your variable costs will increase. The whole directly proportionally, coming out of the book, that has to do with, like I said, if you increase something 10%, you'll increase the price 10%. What else regarding variable costs? They pretty much will, run straight line for the most time. I think that's about it. Like I said, a lot of labor companies, service companies. So manufacturing is a big one with direct materials, direct labor. Same thing with service. Direct labor is a big one with that. That will be your variable costs. Moving on with the fixed expenses. Fixed expenses usually stay the same no matter what the cost level happens to be. They vary inversely with the total output. So if you think of a division function as you have your total expenses, if you decrease, so let's say the total expense is $100 for the a unit so a set amount of time. If you have, let's say, 5 items, you're going to divide that $100 by that 5 units. If you have 10 units, you're going to have to divide that $100 by 10 units. So you can see how your costs would decrease if you increase the total amount of activity. A lot of big businesses prefer to try to have as many fixed expenses because then they're accounted for at the beginning or right off the bat in a total lump sum. Then where with variable expenses, you will have all your costs will add on as you add on your total amount of units. Moving on with mixed expenses. Mixed expenses are kind of just a combination of both. You'll oftentimes find most expenses in life to be a mixed expenses, or most things you deal with to be a mixed expense. Like, let's say your cable company cable bill, you get a flat rate every month, but if you add on certain elements or certain features, you can get a mixed expense because you'll have a variable element there. In order to perform the cost, value, and profit analysis, yes, you'll have to break down your fixed and your variable components, because a fixed expense doesn't just get, categorized on the balance sheet. You'll understand your fixed and your variable component to it, and then you'll be able to categorize everything. And then on the bottom, you'll see that I have, an image of like the total cost of, a car or a train. As they increase their mileage, you'll see that one line that follows parallel to the total cost is your variable component. As you're increasing your level, you're increasing your variable component. And as you're increasing your total variable and total costs, the fixed cost is staying the same. So this graph here on the bottom would demonstrate a mixed component or a mixed expense that's combining both variable and fixed. The final topic of learning objective 1 was relevant range. Relevant range has to do with the curves of the graphs of either a variable or a fixed expense. You have linear and straight line. or linear or straight line, and you have curvilinear or not straight line. So linear is proportional. As you know, the cost increases, or as the output increases, the cost will directly increase. So, like I said earlier, if you increase something by $10, the cost will increase by $10. Curvilinear is not directly proportional. So, basically, what that states is, it's not a set amount. So, if you increase something by, let's say, a unit of 10, you're not going to automatically increase something by a unit of 10 as well. It could be, a less increase, or it can be increasing by even more amounts. So, that would be the two differences between linear or straight line and curvilinear and not direct proportional. So, what you might be asking yourself, what is the big deal? Why do we cover costs right at the beginning of costs? Cost cost analyzation, cost volume profit. But it's in the name. It's costs. You have to cover the variable and the fixed components before we can eventually move to the balance sheets and figuring out other topics of chapter 5. In the bottom left there, you get a nice graph. It shows total revenue, and then you see your total costs adding up their variable and the fixed components. That green line is the total. The two blue ones are your variable and your fixed, and then you'll see it gives you a little profit and loss. So that's cool. But yeah, the differences, just to rehash and summarize everything that we just went over here. So we went over variable costs first. They were the ones that change with the product level. Fixed costs most often won't change. Mixed has elements of both. And then, extra topics we covered were relevant range, which was the curvilinear or the linear, price modeling. And why is this all important? You got to get a strong understanding of the cost, necessary, move forward with chapters 5 and 6. Right off the bat, we're covering variable, fixed, and relevant range, and then we'd have to be identifying those examples of fixed and variable. I went over, fixed would be like an insurance bill or, some sort of flat rate, where a variable cost can be, any sort of materials, labor, gasoline, whatever. And then, just cover this first so that way you get a good grasp on it, so you can understand CVP analysis, the contribution margin, break-even point, target net income, and margin of safety. Well, good luck to you. I hope you have a better understanding of variable, fixed, mixed, relevant range, and any sort of other basic introductory elements we covered for CVP.